The ferry slid into the harbor just before sunset. The sky was low and pale, like someone had rubbed the color out of it. Macau waited under that sky, half lit, half asleep. The big casinos along the water were already waking up. Their lights blinked on, one by one, loud and bright. Behind them, the older city stayed quiet. Streets curved away into shadow. The air felt thick, wet, and warm against my skin. I stepped off the ferry with my bag slung over one shoulder. The smell of salt mixed with fuel and something sweet from nearby food stalls. People moved past me without looking up. Everyone seemed to know where they were going. I didn't. I walked away from the lights. The hotel sat a few streets behind the main road, squeezed between a closed tea shop and a pawn store. Its sign flickered, missing one letter. The building looked tired, not broken, just old, like it had been standing too long and learned too much. Inside, the air changed. It smelled of damp carpet and incense, like rain trapped indoors. The lobby lights were dim. A small altar stood near the wall. Candles burned low, wax running down the sides. The carpet swallowed my footsteps. The front desk was empty at first. I rang the bell once. It made a soft, dull sound. A man appeared from a back room. He was thin, wearing a neat uniform that looked a size too big. He smiled, but his eyes stayed careful. "Checking in?" he asked. I nodded and slid my passport across the counter. He typed slowly, the keys clicking in the quiet lobby. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere upstairs, a door closed. He reached for the key rack, then stopped. His fingers hovered there longer than needed. "Just one night," I said. Not sure why I felt the need to explain. He glanced at me, then back at the keys. His hand moved, chose one, and placed it on the counter. The metal key was heavy, old-fashioned, with a worn tag. "Room 1408, he said. I picked it up. "Anything I should know?" He smiled again. This time, it took effort. "Some guests," he said gently. "Don't stay the night." I waited for more. He said nothing. "Right," I replied. He gave a small bow, polite and final. The conversation was over. The elevator sat at the end of a narrow hall. Its doors were scratched, the numbers faded. I pressed the button. It took a moment to arrive. When it did, it opened with a low groan. Inside, the lights flickered once, then held steady. The mirror on the back wall showed my reflection looking thinner than I remembered. Tired, the doors slid shut. The ride up felt wrong. Not broken, just slow. The hum of the elevator filled the space, steady and deep, like a long breath being held. The numbers lit up one by one, 10, 11, 12. At 14, the elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a narrow hallway. The carpet was darker here. The lights buzzed softly. Room 1408 waited at the end. I walked toward it, my steps soft. The air felt cooler, still. No sounds from other rooms. No voices. Just the low buzz of electricity in the walls. The key turned easily. The door opened without a sound. The room looked normal. That was the first thing that bothered me. The bed was made tight and clean. The sheets were white, smooth, untouched. A small desk sat by the window. The curtains were half open, showing a slice of the city-old rooftops. Tangled wires, a distant glow of neon bleeding into the night. The mirror above the dresser was spotless. No cracks, no stains. The bathroom light worked. The towels were folded just right. Everything was as it should be. I set my bag down and stood there, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. Still, the air felt wrong. Not heavy, not cold. Just used. Like someone had been there moments before and stepped out of sight. The room smelled faintly of clean soap, but underneath it was something else. Old water, salt. I shook it off and closed the door. The lock clicked once, solid. I sat on the edge of the bed. It didn't creak. I pressed my hand into the mattress. It gave way slowly, then rose back up. I stood and walked to the window. The city below moved in pieces, light, shadow, cars sliding past like reflections on water. When I turned back, I caught myself looking at the mirror again. My reflection stared back. Nothing else. I unpacked slowly. Shirt, charger, book I didn't plan to read. Each movement felt watched, though I couldn't say why. I told myself it was travel nerves. New place. New room. Night settled in fully. The sounds outside faded. The neon glow softened. I turned off the main light and left the bedside lamp on. The room changed at once. Corners deepened. The walls seemed farther apart. I lay down, still dressed, listening. The hotel made small sounds. Pipes ticking. A distant thud. Somewhere, water ran and stopped. These were normal sounds. Hotels always had them. Still, sleep didn't come. Silence pressed in between the noises, thick and close. It felt like the room was leaning toward me, waiting. I checked my phone. No signal. I set it face down and closed my eyes. The silence grew louder, not with sound, but with weight. My ears strained, searching for something to break it. My breathing felt too loud, so I slowed it down, in, out. The air brushed my face, cool and steady. I opened my eyes. The room hadn't changed. The lamp still glowed. The mirror still reflected the bed, the wall, the door. I turned onto my side, facing the wall. Minutes passed, maybe more. Then I felt it. Not a touch, not a sound, a sense of attention, like standing in a doorway and knowing someone was behind you without hearing them. Like the moment before a question is asked. The room felt awake. I lay still, listening to the walls, the ceiling, the space behind my back. Nothing moved. Yet I knew, with a quiet certainty, that the room was listening too. Sleep came in pieces. I would drift for a few minutes, then wake again, unsure why. Each time, the room felt the same, still, dim, waiting. The lamp by the bed stayed on. Its light did not reach the corners. The hotel made its night sounds. Pipes clicked. Somewhere far away, an elevator sighed. The building felt like a living thing settling into rest. Then shifting again, I turned onto my back and stared at the ceiling. That was when I heard it. A slow scrape. It came from above. Or below. The sound moved just enough to make it hard to place. Wood dragging across wood. Heavy, careful, as if someone did not want to wake anyone else. I held my breath and listened. The sound stopped. Silence filled the room, again, thick. Close. I told myself it was a chair, a table. Old hotels creaked and shifted. Still, my body stayed tense, waiting for it to return. Minutes passed. Then came the knocking, soft at first. A dull tap against a wall. Then another. Not loud enough to be urgent. Not steady enough to be a signal. It had a rhythm that almost made sense, then lost it, like someone trying to remember a pattern and failing. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap, long pause. I sat up in bed. The sound was not at the door. It came from the wall beside me, or maybe the one behind the headboard. The walls were thin. Too thin. Hello, I said, my voice low. The knocking stopped at once. I waited. My heart beat slow and heavy in my chest. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood. The carpet felt cool under my feet. Nothing else happened. I checked the door. The lock was still set. I pressed my ear to the wall. All I heard was my own breathing. When I lay back down, sleep did not return. Dawn crept in through the gap in the curtains, grey and weak. The city woke slowly. When I finally left the room, the hallway was empty. The lights buzzed overhead. The carpet looked worn, darker near the walls. No doors opened. No voices carried. Downstairs, the front desk clerk from the night before was gone. A different man stood there, younger, reading something on his phone. He looked up and nodded. Double quote, "Good morning," he said. "Morning," I replied. "Did you hear anything last night? Noise?" He paused, thought, shook his head. No complaints. I watched his face as he spoke. It stayed calm, polite. I stepped outside. The air hit me, at once warm, damp, alive. Macau moved around me, louder now. Scooters passed. Shops opened their shutters. The smell of food drifted through the streets. I walked with no plan, letting the city pull me along. In the older districts, time felt slower. Buildings leaned close together. Shrines sat in corners, red candles burning low even in daylight. Old men and women burned paper offerings in metal bins, the smoke rising straight up before fading. I watched an elderly woman bow 3 times before a small shrine wedged between a pawn shop and a phone store. Her hands shook as she folded the paper. No one hurried her. The city carried its past openly. It did not hide it. I stopped at a small bar just before noon. It was dark inside, cool compared to the street. Only a few stools lined the counter. A man wiped glasses behind it, his movements slow and careful. I ordered a drink I didn't really want and sat. He slid the glass toward me. "You're not from here." "No," I said. "Just passing through." He nodded. "Most people are." We sat in silence for a while. The bar was quiet. A fan turned overhead, clicking with each slow rotation. "I'm staying near the old casinos," I said. Behind them, his hand paused on the glass he was drying. "There are many hotels," he replied. "This one's older," I said. "Quiet." He glanced at me, then looked away. Quiet can be heavy. I took a sip. The room faces the water. He exhaled softly through his nose. "That side looks toward the old shoreline." "What does that mean?" He shrugged. "Before the land was filled in. Before the lights." I waited. He set the glass down and leaned closer, lowering his voice though no one else was there. "Some places remember what they used to be. That hotel?" I asked. "Rooms," he corrected gently. "Some rooms." I didn't push him. He straightened and returned to his work. The conversation ended without a clear line. When I left, the daylight felt thinner. Back at the hotel, the lobby was quiet again. The altar candles had been replaced. Fresh wax dripped down the sides. I took the stairs this time. The elevator felt too small. On the 14th floor, a cleaner stood in the hallway. She was older, short, with grey hair pulled tight at the back of her head. Her cart waited beside her. She stopped when she saw me. Her eyes went to the key in my hand, then to the door behind me. She did not move, cleaning. I asked. She stared at the door to room 1408. "Miss," I said. She flinched at the sound of my voice. "Ah, yes." She took a step forward, then stopped again. Her hand tightened on the cart handle. "It's fine," I said. "You can come in." She shook her head slightly. "Later?" "It's okay," I repeated. "Really?" She looked at me then, as if seeing me clearly for the first time. Her eyes were dark, tired. "You stay in tonight?" she asked. "I think so." Her mouth pressed into a thin line. She nodded once, then turned her cart around. She did not clean the room inside. The air felt different. Closer, I sat on the bed and rubbed my neck, stiff from bad sleep. My fingers brushed something tender. I frowned and stood, walking to the mirror. The light caught my skin at an angle. A bruise was forming just below my jaw, darker at the center, fading at the edges. Clear dot, finger dash-shaped. I touched it gently. It hurt. I stared at my reflection, waiting for it to change. It didn't. But for a moment, I felt sure that someone else stood just behind me, close enough to breathe. When I turned, the room was empty. The mirror stayed still. The bruise darkened slowly, like a mark finishing its work. That night waited, patient and quiet, on the other side of the door. The hotel felt different once I noticed the gaps. It started with a simple question. I went to the front desk after lunch and asked if they kept old guest records. I said I had lost a receipt. It was an easy lie. The clerk hesitated, then pointed me toward a small office near the back. "Old files," he said. "Not many people ask." The room smelled of dust and paper. A single fan turned in the corner, slow and tired. Metal shelves lined the walls. Folders leaned against each other, some bent, some tied with string. I pulled a folder at random and opened it. Pages were missing, not misplaced. Torn, the edges were rough, uneven. Dates jumped forward and back. Names ended mid-line. Room numbers were crossed out with thick ink, pressed hard enough to leave marks on the pages beneath. Room 1408 appeared more than once. Each time, the line stopped short. I closed the folder and tried another. The same thing. A quiet unease settled in my chest. Not fear yet. Something closer to focus. The feeling you get when you realize a puzzle is missing pieces on purpose. A chair scraped behind me. I turned. An elderly man stood in the doorway. He wore a security uniform faded by years of washing. His hair was thin and white. His face looked calm, but his eyes watched closely. "You should not be here," he said, not unkindly. I was just. He raised a hand. "I know." We stood there for a moment, the fan clicking overhead. "You're in that room," he said. It was not a question, yes. He nodded once. "Then it makes sense." He motioned for me to follow him. We walked back into the lobby and sat on opposite sides of a small table near the altar. The candles flickered, their flames bending toward us. He folded his hands. His fingers were thin, the skin loose. "People think the room causes things," he said. "That is not true." I waited. "It remembers." I swallowed. "Remembers what?" "People who bring their grief with them." He looked at the altar, not at me. Many years ago, he said, a woman came here. She was quiet, polite. She asked for that room because it faced the water. My stomach tightened. She had lost her son, he went on. Fishing accident. Boat overturned. Body never found. His voice stayed flat, careful. She checked in for 2 nights. Then she stayed longer. Weeks. She stopped letting the cleaners in. She said her son did not like strangers. I thought of the cleaner in the hallway, the way she would not cross the threshold. At night, he continued, she said she heard him walking. Wet footsteps. The sound of water dripping. She said he sat beside her bed and told her stories. I pictured it without wanting to. Staff thought she was sick with grief, the guard said. They brought food, left it outside the door. Sometimes it was gone, sometimes untouched. He paused. One morning she did not answer. They opened the door. His eyes finally met mine. There was no one inside. No clothes, no bag, no shoes. What about her? I asked quietly. He shook his head. No body. He looked down at his hands. Just seawater. Across the carpet. Under the bed. Like the tide had come in and left again. The fan clicked once, louder than before. After that, he said, guests did not stay long. Some rooms became quiet. That one did not. I wanted to ask more, but the words stuck. The guard stood. You should sleep somewhere else tonight, he said. I did not answer. That evening the room smelled faintly of salt. It was not strong, just enough to notice. Like skin after swimming. I shut the door and locked it. The click sounded thin. The space felt smaller. The walls closer. The ceiling lower. I checked the window. It was closed. I washed my face, trying to clear my head. When I looked up, the mirror showed only me, pale, tired. The bruise on my neck had darkened. I lay down, fully dressed. Sleep came fast and wrong. I dreamed of water, not open water, not waves under the sky. Water inside the hotel, filling hallways, pressing against doors. I walked through ankle-deep pools, my footsteps loud and slow. Doors opened on their own, one by one, revealing nothing but black water beyond. A child's voice called out, muffled as if from underwater. I turned corners that led back to the same place. The water rose to my knees, then my waist. It pulled at my clothes, heavy and cold. I awoke choking. The room was dark. The lamp was off. For a moment, I did not know where I was. The air felt thick, damp. My sheets clung to my skin. I sat up and listened. Drip. A slow, wet sound, drip, it, came from near the bed. My heart pounded as I reached for the lamp and turned it. Light filled the room, the carpet beside. The bed was darkened, wet, a single footprint pressed into it, bare, toes clear. Water pooled at the edges, sinking slowly into the fibers. I stared at it, my breath shallow. Another footprint appeared beside it, not suddenly, not with sound, just there. The smell of salt grew stronger. I swung my legs off the bed and stood, backing away. My heel bumped the dresser. The mirror caught the movement. I looked up at first. I saw only the room behind me. The door, the wall, the window, then I noticed the space just beside my reflection. Someone stood there, not fully in view, just the edge of a shoulder. A line of dark hair, Skin pale and wet, the mirror fogged slightly, as if from breath. I did not turn. The room felt full, crowded. A soft sound reached my ears. Not a voice, not a word. Breathing, slow, steady, waiting. I stood frozen, my eyes locked on the glass, knowing that if I turned, something would be completed. The footprints crept closer to the bed. The light flickered once, and the room, patient and quiet, closed in around us both. The room was awake before I was. I lay still, eyes open, watching the light change on the walls. The lamp had been left on. Its glow felt weaker now, as if the room had learned how to dim it without touching the switch. A soft popping sound came from the wall near the window. I sat up. The paint bubbled there, a small round swell pushing outward. It trembled, then split. A thin curl of paint peeled away and fell to the carpet. Underneath, another wall waited. The wallpaper beneath was older, faded, blue-grey with dark lines running through it. I leaned closer and saw the shapeships tilted in rough water, waves drawn with sharp strokes, clouds heavy with rain. Between them were darker patches, like stains that had soaked too deep to wash out. More paint lifted along the wall, slow and quiet, as if the room was shedding a skin. I stood, drawn closer without meaning to be. My fingers hovered near the peeling edge. The air smelled stronger now, salt and old paper, damp wood. I pulled my hand back. The room did not want help. It was doing this on its own. A pressure built in my chest, not pain, but weight. The kind that made breathing feel like work. I leaned against the dresser, steadying myself. Something brushed my thoughts. Not words, feeling dot, a deep, steady grief pressed inward, as if someone was standing close, sharing the same small space inside my ribs. It wasn't sharp. It was old, worn smooth by time. I closed my eyes. Images slid past, broken and brief. A narrow bed, curtains pulled tight. A woman sitting very still, hands folded in her lap, her hair dark and wet at the ends. The edge of the bed dipped. I opened my eyes. She sat there, not fully solid, not transparent either, like a person seen through fogged glass. Her dress clung to her knees, dark with moisture. Her feet rested flat on the carpet, leaving darker marks beneath them. She did not look at me. Her shoulders were heavy, rounded forward. She stared at the floor, eyes empty of surprise or fear. She had been here a long time. I wanted to speak. My throat closed. She lifted her head slowly. Her face was pale, lined by loss more than age. When she looked at me, I felt the room tighten, as if every wall leaned closer to listen. "He comes at night," she said. Her voice was soft, even like someone reciting a fact they had repeated many times. I swallowed. "Your son," she nodded once. "He knocks," she went on. "Then he forgets how." The memory of the uneven tapping returned, clear and sharp. "He doesn't like the lights," she said. "He never did." The lamp flickered, then went dark. Grey morning light seeped through the curtains. The room felt smaller in it, as if the night had been holding it apart. I sat on the bed across from her, careful not to touch. "You didn't leave," I said. She looked past me, toward the wall where the paint continued to peel. "I stayed," she replied. "They built around me." Her hand lifted, thin fingers pointing toward the door, toward the hallway, toward the floors above and below. "They numbered the sorrow," she said. Put it in rooms, locked it behind polite smiles. A low sound rolled through the space. Not thunder, not wind, water. The sound of waves pushed against stone, distant but steady. I waited, she said. I still do. The wallpaper shifted. Another strip of paint fell, revealing a darker scene beneath. A shoreline. Boats pulled up wrong. Paper offerings burning low in metal bins. I saw it then, not as a vision, but as memory the room had kept. She had checked in with a small bag. She had closed the door gently. She had sat on the bed and listened to the water beyond the city. She had waited for footsteps that would never grow old. They said he was gone, she whispered, but water brings things back. The sound of the ocean grew louder, her form wavered. For a moment, she looked younger, then older, then both at once. Why me? I asked. She met my eyes. You stayed, she said. The truth settled in me, heavy and clear. The room did not trap people. It invited them. It listened for the shape of loss and opened its door when it heard it. I had brought my own weight here, quiet and unnamed. The room had felt it the moment I stepped inside. You can rest, she said, her voice softer now, just for a while. The bed creaked beside me. The grief pressed closer, wrapping around my chest like a tide pulling in. I understood the danger then, not of dying, of staying, of letting the room hold what I had been carrying until it forgot how to let go. I stood. The room resisted, not with force, with feeling, a deep, aching pull. The woman watched me, her eyes calm. It doesn't end, she said. It keeps. The ocean sound filled the walls. It slipped through cracks, under the door, into my ears. The wallpaper rippled, waves moving slowly now. I reached for the door handle. My hand shook. Behind me, the bed dipped again. A smaller shape climbed onto it. Wet footsteps crossed the carpet, soft and careful. Mum. A voice asked, thin and far away. She turned toward it, her face breaking open with a hope that hurt to see. I pulled the door open. The hallway was empty, dry, quiet. I stepped out and closed the door behind me. The sound of the ocean followed, muffled but present, like a shell held to the ear. It pressed through the walls, through the floor, through my chest. I did not go far, just to the end of the hallway, where the window looked out toward the old shoreline. Dawn spread thin light across the city. The water beyond the buildings moved, slow and endless. Behind me, room 1408 waited, not angry, not hungry, patient. The sound of waves grew louder, filling every space inside me, asking the same quiet question again and again. Would I stay? Morning arrived without light. The window showed a pale grey that did not grow brighter. The city beyond felt paused, like a breath held too long. I sat on the edge of the bed with my bag open, folding my clothes with care I did not feel. My hands shook. I pressed them together until they steadied. The room watched, not with eyes, with presence. The air felt aware of every move I made. The wallpaper had gone quiet again. The paint lay still, as if nothing had happened. Only the smell remained. Salt and old paper. A tide that never fully pulled back. I packed slowly, leaving things out, then placing them back in. A charger. A shirt. The book I never read. Each item felt heavier than it should. The bed creaked softly when I stood. The carpet held the faint outline of damp, like a memory that refused to dry. At the door, I stopped. The handle was cool under my palm. Behind me, the presence lingered. It did not press close. It did not beg. It stayed where it was, patient and full of quiet sadness. I felt it like a weight in the room, like someone waiting for a goodbye they already knew would not come. "I'm sorry," I said. The words felt small, too late, too thin. No answer came. No sound, only the low, distant hush of water moving far away. Leaving felt like stepping out of a hospital room after the machines went quiet. Staying would have meant lying down and letting the weight settle in my chest until it felt normal. I opened the door. The hallway was dry and empty. The lights buzzed. The carpet showed no marks. The air smelled of cleaning spray and dust. I did not look back when I closed the door. The elevator arrived quickly this time. Its doors slid open with a dull sigh. I stepped inside and pressed the button for the lobby. The ride down felt shorter, like the building had already decided for me. The lobby was brighter than before. Morning light filtered through the glass doors, thin but real. The altar candles burned low. Fresh sticks of incense smoked gently, their scent soft and sweet. A woman stood at the front desk. She wore the same uniform as the others, neat and pressed. Her hair was pulled back tight. She looked up as I approached and smiled with polite calm. "Checking out?" she asked. "Yes," I said, and placed the key on the counter. She glanced at it. At the number, her smile did not change. "Most people choose to go," she said quietly. I waited for more. There was none. "Does anyone stay?" I asked. She tilted her head slightly. "Sometimes." I nodded. That felt like the truth. She slid the key away and printed a receipt. Her hands moved with ease. No hesitation. No warning wrapped in kindness. When I stepped outside, the city met me as if nothing had happened. Traffic rolled past. Tourists clustered near the casinos, phones raised, faces bright. Music drifted from an open shop door. The smell of food and fuel mixed in the warm air. Macau moved forward without me. I walked until the hotel was out of sight. I crossed streets, past glass towers and old stone walls. I stopped only when my legs began to ache in the reflection of a shop window. I caught a glimpse of something behind me. Wet footprints. They appeared on the sidewalk, dark against the pale stone. Small, bare. Each one filled slowly, then faded. I stopped walking. The footprints vanished. I watched my reflection closely. It showed only me, tired, pale. The bruise on my neck had faded to yellow at the edges. I moved on. All day, the city followed its own rhythm. I ate when I remembered. I sat by the water and watched boats slide past. The old shoreline was gone, buried under stone and glass. But the water still found its way through Dot. Every now and then, I heard it. The sound of waves, not loud, not clear. Just a low hush, like breath through a shell. It came and went, never long enough to prove it was real. By night, I checked into another hotel across the city, new, bright. The lobby smelled of polish and flowers. The clerk greeted me with easy warmth. No pauses, no careful glances. My room was high up, facing the lights. The window showed towers and signs, reflections layered over each other. I locked the door and leaned against it, letting my eyes close. The room felt empty. That should have been a relief. I showered and let the water run too long. When I turned it off, the quiet rushed in, sharp and sudden. I dried off and stood before the mirror. For a moment, I thought I saw damp hair at the edge of the glass. I blinked. Nothing. I turned off the light and lay down. The bed was too soft. The sheets smelled of clean cotton. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for sleep. It did not come easily. The room was quiet in the way of new places. No memory, no weight. Still, my chest felt tight, like something had been left behind and taken with me at the same time. Just as I began to drift, I heard it waves, clearer now, steady and slow. I sat up, heart racing. The sound came from everywhere. The walls, the floor, the space inside my ears. It did not grow louder. It did not fade. I lay back down and closed my eyes. In the dark, I felt a presence settle near the bed. Not touching, not close enough to see. Just there, heavy with waiting. I thought of the woman, of the way she looked at her son with hope that hurt to witness, of the room that held her because no one else would. I understood then what I had taken with me, not a ghost. A room, its memory, its sound, its quiet request. Sleep finally came, thin and shallow. In my dreams, I walked along a shoreline that no longer existed. The water reached for me, gentle and patient. When morning came, light filled the room. The waves did not leave. They stayed, soft and endless, carried in my chest like breath. Some rooms never let go, and some guests, once chosen, learn to carry them wherever they go.